are back in action. Beautiful people in the room of Zoom and beautiful people in the Great Hall of Hammond Castle. Happy Thursday. Hi. Zoom room, friends, we are back in action, and I think you can see us okay. How are we doing now? All right, beautiful, thanks, thank you. Welcome back everyone here at the Hammond Castle. I am going to reintroduce some of what I shared earlier because this is the part that we just want to capture some video footage of. So welcome everyone to Trusted Adult North Shore. This experience, this free educational opportunity is bringing brilliant minds, employers, bosses, businesses together across the North Shore to talk about how we are all collectively trusted adults for our youth employers, our youth patrons, our youth clients, and who better to share with us the expertise and wisdom of what we should be looking for and what we should be thinking about in our role that we take very seriously as a trusted adult than youth. So round of applause for our youth leaders. This is like just so special to have you all here. Not to mention you have school tomorrow. Well, you had 2 snow days this week.
Yes.
All right, so never mind. No, I'm so glad you're here. I know you all have busy things, busy lives and things that you're managing during the weekday. So thank you very sincerely for being here. Kirsten, Jane, and Bill. I would love to, can you share with us a little bit about, we want to know, just show off a little bit, yeah? How you are a leader in your school, your town, just leadership positions you've held.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kirsten Cole. I'm a senior at Ipswich High School. And some background about me, I'm co-president of the Youth Coalition of Ipswich Aware in town, and I'm also a part of the North Shore Youth Leaders along with David. And I have worked 2 jobs since I was 13. I work at Marini Farms, which is right in Ipswich, very famous farm stand, and I've been a cashier there. And then I also have babysat for 3 families on and off since I was in 8th grade. And along with that, have played 2 sports for all of my high school years. I play volleyball as well as ice hockey, and I have a lot of leadership through that. And then I also do a lot of community service activities as well as that. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, look. Love. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jane, and I'm a freshman at Manchester, Essex, but I live in Essex, which is a pretty small town. So I've had 1 job when I was 14, which didn't really go out too well. But I volunteer over summers at my church as kind of a leader at a vacation Bible school, and then I help out with the elementary school for a lot of program things that they do and fun nights at the school, and then I babysit for a lot of people in my town, and yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Jane.
Hey, I'm Bill, or Billy you could call me. I'm a senior in high school. I'm president of the Gloucester Youth Leadership Council here in Gloucester. I've worked at our local bowling alley, and I've spent most of my high school career also working at the middle school as a after-school counselor. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks. Well, you've got a full range of the jobs. The farm, the outdoor experience, at a school, it's kind of probably a little more structured, bowling, maybe a little more free-flowing, babysitting, very, just maybe a little more casual. What, in any of those employment situations, what are the signs that you're looking for that the employer, your boss, or your supervisor is someone you could talk to if you needed to talk to somebody? What are the signs that you would be willing to share with them and you think they'd be a good listener?
I can start. When I initially walking in 13 and walking into a job, my main thing was you're not only learning the job, but you're learning just how to interact with the people around you. You're learning how to interact with your coworkers and how to interact with bosses. It's not just the job you're learning, it's just everything as a whole, and that whole experience and professional relationship. And one thing that really helped me was honestly just kind of taking the stress off of the work and just making it fun, because I was someone who, my family was very much like, okay, you're 13, it's kind of ready to work now. And I spent a lot of time at my work, so just making sure it was a comfortable space and also getting kind of used to those relationships and being able to, I think one thing is kind of being able to listen. If I can just go and just oh, here's what happened in my day, and them being very active listeners, I think that was very helpful. And also just feeling like I was in a safe space and showing up to work and just making it fun and funny and lighthearted and kind of taking the stress away from it.
Human-centered.
Yes, yes.
They're like, how was your day?
Yes,
There's room to talk about your day.
Yes,
Yeah.
being a person, not just an employee.
Not just did you check in, time to go?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Thanks, yeah.
Usually I like somebody that can kind of understand when I make mistakes and stuff, because when you're first starting to work when you're young, it's you're bound to make mistakes, and it's important that they kind of take it slow in that aspect and understand that it's your first time, because it can be kind of nervous when you first make mistakes, like dropping a few plates or something, or just, yeah, Dave knows. But yeah, it's just, so when they understand, it takes an element off and helps you open up a bit too, if you can see that making mistakes is okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we catastrophize. We're like, oh my, is this it? Are we getting fired now?
Exactly, yeah.
Dropped a few plates, Yeah, anyone serving out there? Or, yeah, you've dropped plates. This is part of it. You have to do that. Thanks. Yeah, it's like a vulnerable place to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're looking for an employer who's just what we heard Arden say earlier, can normalize that.
Yes.
Normalize it. Now here's the thing, because we're going to make a second and a third and a fourth mistake, and sometimes on the same thing. So it's just like being with someone in their learning journey. But you were saying, Jane, too, there have also been not so great situations where you don't get the vibe. Can any of you talk about times when your employer, your boss, just was not present? Kind of, paint the picture. What happened? Yeah,
So,
you got it ready.
So, going into my first job, I really didn't know anything about what I was getting myself into, and kind of the work environment I was going to be surrounded by, and the people, and so going into it, and how to sign up to make sure you're getting paid, and you're in the register as your account and everything. And so there's also apps that they used for tips and your payroll, and it's they kind of not being there and telling you what to do and how to sign up if you're struggling, or you lost the email or something, you didn't get the email of a code or something, and then them just not being around to support you and kind of tell you what to do and how to figure it out. It's kind of difficult, because you're okay, well what do I do if you've never been in this situation before? So it's just kind of being present and understanding and listening and giving feedback is really good, especially if you've never worked before.
That's such a good example, Jane. What do any of us want when we are stuck and lost and do not understand? Someone to reach out and help us make sense of it. For all of you who are employers or who have a say in your policies and practices that are that involve onboarding in particular, how important it is just that we feel welcome, that it's available in ways that are truly accessible to the people you are hiring or working with. And being a support to them, being a mentor to them, so that the stuff gets done, versus no one needs a wagging finger. It's dismissive. Yeah. Others? Tough examples?
So a big thing for me, especially going off the understanding, is balance. As someone who was juggling a lot through athletics, through school, through other extracurricular stuff, a big thing was for me, for Marinis, for example, availability was a huge thing. They have a very strict way of how they do things, which is super understandable. I mean, the way they do it there is very amazing and very impressive. But at the same time, trying to schedule an 18-year-old's life a month in advance is crazy. Just through sports and school, there was always something coming up that was unpredictable and that I could have never predicted, or something that came up the week of. And I always ended up, going to my manager and being I'm super sorry, I really can't make it there this week. I'm is there any way, And they were very strict about, it was almost like if you're the employee, you need to find someone else to come and take your place. And it was very much of like, if you can't find anyone, you have to be there. And as, 16, 17, 18-year-old, and I'm like, work is a big part of my life, but it's not necessarily the priority. I would think my education's the first priority. So if an academic thing came up or anything else like that was automatically more important. So I think a huge thing is being understanding, and I think that was something that didn't work out, was me having to almost like find who was going to replace me when, in my opinion, like 15, 16, I was like, I feel like that should be in the adults' hands. So I just think being understanding and being flexible and understanding that we're handling a bunch of stuff and it's not just work.
Yeah, and it's in a different way. I would say 21st century youth have talked about this. Our other panelists have talked about the high stakes pressured spaces they are navigating with very little wiggle room. And you're right, like the number of curriculars you're involved in plus work, it helps to have a partner in an employer who can help you find coverage or pivot when you need to.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, I guess at one of my jobs, usually I've worked with nice people, but there have been a few times when coworkers that are older than me think of me as much insignificant to them in the workplace.
Yeah.
And that can just like kind of sting a bit.
Yeah.
Like there's been times when they've like told me things as if like in that, that tone, right? The tone.
I know the tone.
Yes, or like there's a time when they messed up an order, but they blamed it on me to our manager. And it's like, just sometimes it's like, you can't just blame kids for it because, it's like, just because we're young doesn't mean we're dumb.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Being left out of communication or being dismissed or kind of like, in this case, kind of thrown into accepting responsibility that wasn't yours. Yeah, it feels really crummy. And there are consequences to that, right? Like to how you show up, for sure. I'm curious if any of you have ever gone to a boss with something work-related or not. Actually, I'd love not work-related. Just because they were your person. We know that young people go to young people first and usually, right, most often. But sometimes the employer is that person. So any examples of like, you just trusted your employer, you went to them with something that was like on your heart or something you needed?
I can start. So one thing as a senior that you completely always get asked is, what's your college plan? What's your future? It's the number one question. It's how are you doing? Okay, where are you going to college? And the one thing that I was pretty stressed about, especially first semester senior year, is, okay, filling out those college applications and doing that and trying to juggle that in school and then going to work. It was one thing I always kind of brought with me to work in the back of my head. And I had one specific manager who I talked to about it every day, and she had 2 daughters, and she was in their mid to late 20s, and she was like, I know what it was like being the parent and going through that process on my own and seeing my kids going through that process. And every day it was like, not only would I show up to work, but I would also be getting advice and getting that advice about how, how to deal with that stress. And she would even offer me like, you should go check out this college, and just, being able to go to work, but also having, that safe space to kind of talk about other stuff that was going on was really wicked helpful. And she actually ended up writing one of my college recommendations. So it was really sweet of her. And
Great example.
Yeah.
And nice you had this like language about, is this an advice-giving conversation or you're just listening conversation? Yeah. Okay, great. Any other examples you went to an employer because you felt like you could trust them with something?
I could go.
Okay.
So when I worked at the middle school a while back, I don't know what it exactly was, some sort of nasty flu or something that knocked my mom and dad on their feet. And I mean, it was just a bit rough, and they were having trouble with my baby brother. He was crazy running around and stuff. And I could just tell they were struggling a bit with the sickness. So I told my boss about it and how I was wondering if I could leave work early to go help at home, Yeah. And they understood, and they let me take the day to go help out at home. And I didn't forget that. It was a very nice thing for them to do,
Man, that's formative, Bill, and that's part of who you are vocationally and who you're becoming. You're going to be that for people, remembering, as you're all describing, person-centered practices. Because it gets lost. It gets lost in policy. It gets lost in like the pace, the day-to-day. But it's so very important. Folks in the audience, you have any questions for this brilliant panel? about something you're wondering? I'm going to put it out there, but I've got so many more. Or online. Thanks, yeah. David.
So some of you talked about being student athletes as well as having multiple jobs. I believe I've heard you have 4 jobs in the past.
Yeah.
Love bragging about how many jobs you have, but like, how does it work with managing your jobs, your sports, and your actual school activities? So like you stated previously, education comes first. What happens when you have to take that home?
Sure. Yeah, sometimes work can get a little, school and work together can get a bit overwhelming. And yeah, having a boss that understands that you're still in school and you're a kid and stuff definitely helps. Oops, mine's a little too close. But yeah, like when I worked at the middle school, around midterms this time last year, I was a little buried with all the schoolwork I had to get done. And so I asked them if I could take a day or two to like get all this preparation done for the midterms, and they did understand that I'm in school and stuff, and so they let me take that time to study and get the work done. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think time management's a huge thing. I think a lot of the time I, would be scheduling stuff in advance, and at the end of the day, if I have like a huge test tomorrow, or if I take that stress with me, and it's like, what do I prioritize, my work or my school? It was kind of always, I felt like I was picking something, and sometimes it comes down to, what do you need time for the most, and what do you need to prioritize? And I think school at the end of the day is going to come first. And just having employers that get that and understand that and realize that, we're students first and the job is second. I think that took me a while because, as, maybe younger, I didn't have as many responsibilities, but now, I was able to pay for my own car with my job, and now I pay for my own gas and insurance and everything. And now I kind of have that mindset in the back of my head. And sometimes it was like, do you go to work or do you prioritize school? Because now it's like this kind of juggling responsibility. But at the end of the day, I think, you have to prioritize school, and I think just realizing you're a student first and athlete and work and everything else second.
Yeah, you're reminding me of all the other things that youth prioritize because they need to. All the other things that we're juggling that are not extracurriculars, but just like our health, our safety, home life, and responsibilities that we might not talk openly about. But for us as employers to have that in mind, to assume that that's what's going on and what we're juggling is really important. On page 7 in the workbooks, there's just a brief highlight about change, and this is kind of like, there's a framework of change, but I like the idea as being an employer, being a boss or supervisor, or even an employee and a partner to a young person, is being a detective for these 4 things. If something is not happening in the workplace, what needs to be dialed up a little bit? Chances are it's not need. The person showing up for work is showing up. But is it skills? Is it belief? Is it that they don't believe they can, their self-efficacy? And how are you partnering to dial any of those other pieces up? Youth panelists, anything else you want to add to what you would like people who work with youth, who hire youth, who train and welcome them into their stores and businesses? What should they know about what you're living today? Just as a wrap up. What do you want them to know, really, their take home?
I think one thing that is huge for me, I think, is walking into my job, and not just walking into the job, but also realizing that you're a person juggling other stuff behind it. I think, at least for me, and I think my whole generation, I think, we're a lot more inside our own heads than I think past generations are. And I think I know someone mentioned I think for me, I think I've been very hard on myself and juggling stuff, and I think that pressure can kind of eat away at you sometimes. And I just think realizing that you're only human and you can only prioritize so much stuff and you only have so much time. And also just, it's a balance of, getting what you need to get done and having responsibilities, and just enjoying being a kid and realizing this is the only time you're going to be a teenager. But also walking into work and just, asking how are you doing, and are you okay, and, how are you doing as a person before you focus on the employee part. And I think that's one thing, yeah.
Nice, thanks. Jane, Bill, anything else you want to share? What are you hoping employers will do?
Just kind of like maybe adding on to like what she said, like just making sure like you're kind of good in like your everyday life, not just kind of like in the work environment and like how you're doing like during like your like work hours and like your performance, because like it can always go back to like what actually happens like every day besides like just at work. So like kind of like just checking up on people and like making sure everybody's like in a healthy like mental state can like really affect like how you perform like at work.
Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll add on to what she added on to what she added on to. Yeah, yeah, just like bosses and all that just need to understand that when we go into work, it's not just us at like, that's not just the only place we're at, you know, like we have school, we have home, we have a whole thing of stuff to juggle all together. So understanding that it's not just the like work we're doing, you know. Don't know if I worded that right, but you get what I mean. Like there's just like a cube, you know, so many sides, a lot of stuff to look at, a lot of angles to see a person as, especially
Appreciate
youth.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and remember what it was like.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
On your tables are magnets. I think I have the Gloucester Health Department to thank for these magnets. They're in Spanish, English, and Portuguese. This was my sign. I remember this in the break room of Benny's when I was an employee. I worked at a hardware store. Something like this, like a local resources was posted in the break room. All the phone numbers, the helpline, the pantry, immigration support, just all of this was the signal that my boss knew what was going on in the community. And if I ever got stuck, we had this to go to as a start, right? Because we're limited. We might not be able to do all the things for our employees and our youth, but we can connect them. So please take the resources you need. We are wrapping up, and I would ask that everyone please just join me again one last time on page 6. No, not page 6. Sorry, at the end of the workbook. I don't have it with me. And there's a QR code that I ask you to please take 2 to 3 minutes to complete the sort of post inventory. It's on the very last page, 12, under thank you. It was so nice just to hear from you what you picked up on. Most importantly, again, this is our 3rd out of 3rd workshop, and so we want to know where this can go. We want to know where North Shore, Trusted Adult North Shore can grow and be in different community spaces, so we welcome your opinions on that. Please stay and hang out on Zoom and here in the space, connect with each other, and all the resources that were gathered here tonight, we will follow up with you so you have them. Panelists, thank you. Thank you for the brave move that you made to be here tonight. Thank you for the ways that you keep showing up at work and pushing the envelope for trusted adults in the workspace. We're cheering you on. Cheers to our panelists. All right, cool. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and all your support of the Trusted Adult North Shore movement. And we'll see you soon. Enjoy your night. Cheers.